welcome to the Diplomats. I've got Stitches coming to us from a cell phone with a hell of a whiskey collection back there. I see the Jim Beam, not so great. I see the Woodford Reserve, which I like, and a lot of good alcohol. I think I see the Bombay Gin. Anyways, and we've got Audacious Hand coming to us in a shirt, but he looks shirtless, but we all like the hair. So, as always, the Diplomats is brought to you by diplomacybriefing.com, where you get all your diplomacy content on the web. And the latest issue will have the Diplomats cover. The Diplomats coverage is Nexus Speedboat League. So we're everywhere. All right. Well, one person who's not everywhere is Germany in this game of Season 6 Nexus Finals. It's not goodbye, Germany, but it's not looking good. And so we left off in the fall of 1903 with predictions about what people would build. And here was the winter. Let's see. Germany disbanded 2 fleets. I think we predicted he would keep Baltic and Berlin. We predicted an army and a fleet from England, but in the opposite cities of what he did it in. We predicted a fleet from Marseille, and he did it. We did not predict disbanding of Budapest. I think I was the one. I think Superstition said he would disband Finland. I think maybe Han did as well. I said I didn't think he would do that. I was wrong. And I don't think anyone saw the Budapest disband coming. And Stitches, again, right. I think Hand also predicting Army Smyrna, where I was adamant that it should be a fleet. Stitches, you win the builds retreats phase, or builds and disband phase, winter of 1903.
And Fleet Venice.
Yeah, Fleet Venice was his most impressive call.
But buried the headline.
How can you forget about Fleet Venice?
Which I think I said was insane. When you said it, I go, that would be insane. And it's been done.
Your prediction.
I know Max's wavelength right here is just, and him leaving Greece to defend Ionian. That's the only way it probably would have worked. It's pretty good. It's so petty. I love it.
Okay. You go ahead, Hand.
I mean, I usually find myself not too interested in build phases, but this was a really interesting one, actually. Really good for England, continues to be really good for England. 3 fleets in the north are disbanded. There's now only 1 fleet that's not in the Mediterranean. The disbanded Budapest I find baffling and borderline suicidal, but yeah, everything else looks pretty good.
I don't like England.
I couldn't hear you guys.
I said, I don't know why you keep Ruhr if you're Germany.
No, I don't either. I don't like England's builds at all. I mean, he should have reversed it. He should have built the fleet in London and the army in Edinburgh. And if that was going to piss France off, then at least build your army in Liverpool, because you could back it up with going to Edinburgh for a convoy north. Or you can still go to York. There's nothing really beneficial about building in London other than saying, hey, I'm going to York.
Yeah, well, I think he's cool. I mean, I think it was just a gesture of good faith towards France to continue the EF. All right, Superstition, I totally blew you off as to Fleet Venice. So I didn't listen to why you think this is a good idea. Why is this a good idea? Italy needs to be against France with Austria right now. Like, what is Italy doing? Does Italy just not care?
I think he's reversing the treatment that Austria was giving him. Like I said, it gives him a season behind, which, you know, he's going to go out to the Adriatic, but it puts a little bit of pressure on Austria to keep Austria away. I don't think Austria is going to be worried about trying to do anything funny with France at all, and it just allows him to be able to walk back into Venice and rotate out without having a big dramatic standoff against Venice with just his two armies. So it's just a good middle finger back to him,
That's
especially when he has to burn one.
The
He has to figure out.
the object is to win. The object is not to engage in pettiness.
I don't know. The only time I've ever played in the finals, I'm pretty sure the object was to grab Pez and drag him to the bottom of the ocean out of spite. So I can't really entirely say I don't relate to the sentiment. It is true, I mean, that you still have a fleet that can rotate out eventually, and that because France is a little slow,
Yep.
you're not going to lose Tunis this year. I do agree. I mean, it's not just a fail on Italy's part, though. Let's look at the moves, I guess, so we can talk about that.
Okay. So for this very important build retreat build disband phase, you want to stop talking. So we will go to spring 1904. All right. We always start with Turkey.
I like Turkey's moves. He rotated out perfectly. Everything was in a very bad position, and he was able to get in a very good position quickly. So he got his army in position in Bulgaria. He's tied up his home centers without any problems, and now he's in the Aegean. So he's got a good defensive one. He's back. He's back in the game. I think that's really nice.
Arranged without anchor or no?
What was that?
Probably arranged, but doesn't really matter. He wants his home center back.
I mean, I think it was good that he built two armies, just because I think you maybe need a little bit of leverage with Ewok, and so it kind of, he said, well, you either let me in or I'm going to support myself in. And frankly, if he had just moved to Ankara and Armenia, that would be a huge problem for Russia. But the move Constantinople to Bulgaria is frankly a disaster for Austria, I think. I mean, first of all, the disband of Budapest, I mean, I suppose maybe he wanted to keep Bohemia up there so that he had an active front against the EF, thinking that this crisis he manufactured would get AR together. I mean, that's just a guess. And once he sees that fleet, he has to panic and rotate down. But just too much of a risk. I cannot believe he did that. So now Turkey's in Bulgaria, and there's no way to defend Serbia because there's nothing in Budapest.
Yeah, you think Bohemia at least tab Galicia or something?
Yeah, it's really. I think. You know, that fleet in Venice, I saw it as a spiteful move at first, but, and I'm not saying this is a good plan, but I think that Austria is about to get completely dismembered. I think the crisis he manufactured worked, but they might say, we'll just peel off your face and let Turkey wear your skin suit and have the armies in there. And I like I said, I don't know if that's a good plan. Frankly, I don't think you can get armies forward fast enough to afford pushing through Austria if you really want to stop that entente. But that's the writing I see on the wall.
Okay. The East is a complete, must be a den of lies, hatred, and deceit for them to be acting this way. So much enmity must have been developed that they, like, what is great about diplomacy in my mind is it's a game of finding mutual interests. Here, the East forgot about their mutual interests. I guess the mutual interest is we don't like Austria. but EF are over the line. They are over. They're over the stellar line. This is not good. The alarm bell should be ringing. Okay, like, they're not going to do
They're
it.
in a burning house. They don't need to run outside.
The only question is whether or not E and F are going to turn on each other. That's it.
I almost wonder. I mean, I think that the history of the finals being more transactional, and I'm not sure if we've seen a determined alliance roll aboard yet. And I don't, I can't assume that's going to happen here either. But I think that there's almost they're being a little blasé about the inevitability of France and England turning against each other, but I don't really see a reason for them to do so at this stage in the game, at least.
Not yet. They got a ton of centers in front of them.
Like I said, I mean, they have France and England have as many centers as all three of those combined. Turkey is nothing but a kind of nuisance behind your lines, no matter how you look at it, and it's really not looking good. They might have lost the game here. I mean, the stalemate lines are definitely being crossed. I mean, they might have one more turn before they kind of break out of Germany. We can talk about England's moves; they're great a little bit later, but just and let's give credit to France and England. I mean, they might have a hand in this. They know how to be quiet at the right times and cultivate this disorder.
All right. So Turkey decides to take a Russian center because he wants a home center back, which is understandable. But now Russia's going to have one disband and is losing to England in the north. Russia's fighting Austria. Meanwhile, Austria is moving his armies off the line to come back against an asinine build by Italy because he was upset from 2 years ago of a move to Tyrolia, which never even went into Venice, and he can't get over it.
He supported France.
He can't control himself. And so now
he supported France in the Venice. The Tyrolia army is not innocent.
You know what's funny is when we were doing I guess I wasn't there, but when I was looking at the player interviews and I talked about Max's blue flame of rage eyes. After the podcast, we had a little chat and I was talking to Stitches and I said, yeah, his eyes look a little bit like your Stitches.
This is a blur, but yeah.
And I have to say, this level of just spite and malevolence over perceived slights is really Stitches-esque. And I'm not surprised that Stitches predicted this move in the slightest.
I love it.
All
so
right.
What do you guys think, though? Do you think if they, let's say Italy, Turkey, and Russia had perfect coordination, do you think that they could carve Turkey up fast enough to get up to the line and push it?
I think that they missed their opportunity with Turkey.
I don't think so.
I really do wonder what they're thinking.
No.
I'm just curious if Turkey just takes Greece. Does Turkey take Greece? I don't care about Italy, but I'm just going to take another center. I'm going to get to 5. Is that what Turkey's going to do?
I could see Turkey going up 3. I actually could really see Turkey going up 3 here. He could take Serbia, Greece, Serbia consensually, Ankara semi-consensually, and Greece would be non-consensually. But I would not. I don't know if it's in Tingian's nature to do that, but it's a possibility.
He has to grow as aggressively as possible if he wants to even be a contender at all. Mm-hmm. He has to take Greece. And you can just say, well, you didn't support me in Bulgaria, so.
I just could not disagree more. Turkey should move all units to Syria. Let Russia, Austria, and Italy try and stop the EF and then swoop and take. If you take now, you're just going to cause Crazy Max to come at. I mean, it never ends with this guy.
The game's half over.
You mean Mad Max?
What Mad Max?
Oh my God, he is Mad Max. I don't think Mad Max can really afford to keep to turn around against Turkey.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth Greece. Venice, yes. Greece, no.
It's a tough situation.
Meanwhile, Austria is just turtling up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Austria has no growth potential and no utility.
What was he thinking keeping Bohemia? It's the curse of Bohemia. It's funny to see two Austrias in a row just die in that graveyard of Austria's early game like this. I just frankly cannot believe he disbanded Budapest. He must have been just so convinced that his ploy to alter the incentives on the board would work. Or maybe everyone's lying to him.
All right, meanwhile, let's talk about France. On the one hand, sort of helping Italy, not doing anything with Austria anymore against Venice, doing the dumb move to Albania, which he thinks is so funny. And but on the other hand, attacking him and dislodging Western Med. Makes sense.
I've heard there's a lot of I've heard there's a lot of used cars in Albania and salesmen. So it could be, maybe it's a return to the homeland.
France gets into Ruhr. Germany has retreat and can only retreat to Ruhr, to Holland, which will be English territory at the end of the fall.
I disagree. I think it will be French. I think the smart thing to do would be to send to Munich support Kiel to Berlin, and France would support themselves into Holland. If you look at it, even though I really didn't like Riaz's builds, this move is perfect. I'm thrilled he went to the Baltic. That was the right thing to do. And instantly, Russia is in existential peril. He can force an army into Norway with support from Sweden and still move Norwegian to Barents, for instance. I mean, he could put 3 on St. Petersburg this fall.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand why England can't bring himself into Berlin, and then France gets Holland. And
Okay, you're probably right. You're convincing me you're right.
Munich can help Piedmont into Tyrolia if it wanted to move that line forward.
That is a possibility. I mean, I guess I just thought Munich would support him if Baltic went to the Gulf of Bothnia and Barents, because
that's possible too.
Like, I mean, I would if that would be quite a coup. I mean, unless Russia moves to Livonia and moves Ukraine to Moscow, which it is within his power. If he really thinks that he can keep the pressure on Austria, then that center is gone, and it's not only gone, that's an army in St. Petersburg.
He's gonna put an army in Norway, right?
I think that's the right thing to do, actually. Yeah, because he has Sweden. Sweden can't be tapped, so just support Sweden into Norway, and you got an army there, and you can trip
Norwegian into Barents.
I mean, I'm not saying that's what he's necessarily going to do, but gosh, I mean, if I was Russia, I would be really sweating about whether I should triple up on St. Petersburg or not right now.
But that Holland army can tap, so I don't know if he can really move Kiel or not.
That's true. I mean, he would lose Kiel if it tapped. I mean, he could use Baltic to block that, but I think that would waste tempo. I would use this.
We can't
opening to
just
take it to
bounce with
Russia if I
Roar.
could.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
Yeah, I think he's going to take it to Russia here a little bit.
Yeah, if he does it fast, he can't be stopped.
Not only that, but it's really in England's interest to
Close it.
keep Austria's wheels spinning for a little longer too, even more than France. So pressuring Russia would be a good move.
Okay, unless there's anything more, let's talk about grades. Turkey.
I give Turkey a B. It's a great rotation, good setup.
Even though I have to say I think he should have sided with Austria, and I think that ship has sailed at this point. I mean, maybe not entirely, but to some extent. I have to give it an A because he has the potential to get a triple build here.
I'm giving him a D. Like he's got to think bigger picture. It's short-term thinking. So for that, it's a D. I don't care if he gets 3. I you know, him getting 3 is not helpful to his overall. You know what it means? It just means he's locked in 3rd place. Not good enough. Russia.
I don't like Russia's moves. I cannot believe he tapped Norway instead of moving to Finland. I mean, maybe I'm just obsessed with Finland and there's something wrong with me, but why? Why would he like the?
It's just to keep him out.
To keep
It's
him
less
out of
pressure,
Norway, but a
keep him
fleet
out
in
of
Norway isn't the problem. The problem would be isn't an army in Norway. Even if England had a fleet in Norway, it would almost be kind of in the way of an army. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. If you were in Finland, you could at least tap Sweden. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. He's inviting the army into Norway, and he's just perpetually doesn't want to take a good position up there.
It's easier to defend STP that way.
Grade with Russia. Stitches.
I don't know. He's shrank, so tactically it's not that great. He's in a bad position on the north. Austria's keeping me at bay, but I guess for me it's a D.
It's an F for me actually because, and also like you're being too hard on Turkey. I mean, let's not this disorder between AIR. I mean, I don't know if it's Turkey's doing, but it's good for Turkey. So whatever he's doing, whether that's with just sitting on the sidelines of the drama or actively encouraging the drama, he's doing well. Yeah, but I give Russia an F because, frankly, he should be moving to Silesia and working with Austria at this point. He's about to get pounded, and he is instead just breaking his head against Austria. And again, I'm just surprised. Ewok he seems such like a flexible, diplomatically oriented player, but for second finals in a row, he just finds his nemesis and seems to break his head against that wall.
It's an F minus. Okay, Galicia should be in Silesia. Ukraine should be in Warsaw. Romania should be in Galicia.
Yeah.
I'm ambivalent on the Finland move. I mean, on whether, Norway or Finland. But the only way to break up EF is to not give them centers. and get them frustrated to have to turn on each other. And he's not doing that. He's a smarter player than I am, but again,
So you think?
go ahead.
I mean, I can't help but agree. It would be full mobilization. It's just hard to mobilize with the person who caused the crisis. But yeah, I mean, if you looked at this board and you didn't know the history, you would think they'd want to be loading up on those mountain tiles next to Munich and Germany and kind of trying to contain the situation. I agree.
Austria.
Yeah. Does it include builds and disbands?
Yeah, whatever it wants.
It's really bad because he kept Bohemia. I see what he was trying to do. He was trying to maybe, well, I don't see, but I suspect that he was trying to show leadership in containing the threat that he created. Little bit, it's a very like Chinese government Wuhan virus-esque, you know. But it was too. I mean, this is funny. It's funny coming from me to Pez, but the disband in Budapest was too risky, and he left Serbia out on an island. And also just diplomatically, you just cannot. You know, I mean, you can kind of blame the powers around him for holding a grudge, but it's your job to massage those shoulders and say, "I'm sorry, baby. Like, come back to me," you know. And he's just not doing it. He's too busy off in his time stasis philosophical kind of ivory tower. So I'd give him it's got to be might be an F. I think it's an F.
I give him a D. He didn't lose anything, and he didn't gain any allies, but it looks like at least he tried.
Okay. F minus. He did lose something. He lost position. Like, Pez, if you're going to go out like a man. If you created this crisis, then you should stay on those tiles. By the way, I'm assuming, you know, he could have taken Munich. Could have taken it. Now, he couldn't have kept it, but he could have taken it. He created this crisis, and, you know, he needed to show the others how to lead. He didn't do it. Instead, he cowered back in his little hole of Trieste.
I mean, he tried. He kept Bohemia, and Italy built a fleet in Venice. What is he supposed to do?
He's supposed to go to Munich. He's supposed to support Galicia in Silesia. Like, this is insanity. The East is insane. I'm very disappointed. I picked you to win just 3 days ago, and look what's happening.
But the failure is not his moves; it's his diplomacy, though. It really is.
Italy is great.
I give it a D, and that's only because he managed to block Marseille out of the Gulf of Lyon. But while I actually I find the fleet build in Venice really satisfying in the sense that I do enjoy making an example out of people who wronged me. It's a bit of a step too far. There's a point at which it's time to get the Grand Alliance revved up. I mean, I think, you know what? Actually, he needs to get an F2 because I think Italy, Austria, and Russia all need Fs. It's just a kind of diagonal line of failure across the board.
Stitches.
I'm gonna give him an A because I'm petty and I love it and it's entertaining. It may be stupid.
You're giving him an A?
He trusts nobody and he's flailing everywhere. It's amazingly disastrous.
How could you can't give him an A? Come on, that's too far. I was about to say, like, you seem to have developed this really fair and objective grading rubric, and then you give Italy an A.
If I'm grading him fairly, not personally, yeah, should have built the fleet in Naples. Just made more sense. I would personally build it in Venice because I'm just that player. I don't give a fuck. But yeah, I don't like abandoning Greece, using one fleet to stave off 3 French armies or fleets. It's okay. But no, it's a D.
To an F triple minus exclamation point.
Oh shit!
I'm really, Italy, you caused all this. Okay? You caused it. You overreacted. Okay, you got your feelings hurt. Then you overreacted again. Then you go, now you're building a fleet Venice. This is a finals game. Okay? This is not your first game of diplomacy. This is your second finals. You're doing this, makes no sense to me. You tell yourself you're a logical player. You do not appear logical to me. You appear vindictive, small-minded, hostile, petty.
Hey. Have you played with Pez before?
Yeah, I did the same thing. I
He makes you
suicided to
suicidal.
make Pez die. So it's
It's a win if he dies. It's just a win.
it happens. But I've learned from that. You shouldn't, you should desire life more than Pez's death is something I learned, and it'll actually help you to learn that lesson.
No. Look, Italy, I've hated your whole game. I don't like one thing about it. Okay? You held in Venice for 2.5 years. You did nothing. And when someone tried to force you to do something, you got your dander up. I can't, I'm just like, none of this is the right play. None. So I'm glad you lost Western Med. You're going to lose Gulf of Leon next. It'll be fine. It's great. But you got Tuscany, you got Venice, and you got the Adriatic, all very critical. So good on you, Italy.
I will say Italy is very, very lucky that while France might be the smarmiest talker on the block, or the lot perhaps, he is not the sharpest tactical mind in the box, because France could be taking it to him much harder. I mean, I think if you're going in, my philosophy anyway is if you're going into the Mediterranean, you want to fill Lyon, Western Mediterranean, North Africa as fast as possible. You want to, it's almost like a naval blitzkrieg in there. France has been really slow going in. I mean, maybe that's by design, because
I don't think he had to.
He was afraid of the retreat.
I don't think he had to go in. I think this is his opportunity to go in, and he's moving in.
Yeah, I mean, he could have Tunis now. He's not. I mean, I think he'll probably get Holland, but he's not getting a build out. He's going to be slowed down considerably, and England's going to accelerate. But
I think you're on crack. He's not going to get slowed down because Italy is going to keep going into Austria because Italy is mad. He's taking his football and he's going home, and his home is called Trieste, and so he doesn't have to go fast against Italy.
Ed, I understand your rage against Italy. It has been quite a as someone who enjoys a muscular and piratical Italy, it's been quite it's been a little bit of a wet spaghetti noodle.
What is piratical?
If you think about it, look, France held those 2 fleets, and also France has been slow getting the Mediterranean. France could be taking Tunis now easily if he hadn't just politely sit on his hands. So
he might still take it.
Italy should count himself fortunate not.
There might be a decision between Greece and Tunis. No, he can't take it. He'll retreat to Tunis.
Yeah. Yeah, or probably Tyranian Sea.
Yeah.
Such as you look like you disagree a lot.
Oh yeah, I was just looking at all those fleets, wondering, where all that criticism went for his armies. But
Oh, yeah, the army that's going to Albania. That's a really helpful army. It's done a
It's
lot
holding.
for France.
Well, the army builds, you were vindicated. It did work out. I mean, I'm not sure if his plan when he built that army was, haha, Austria will support me to Munich at the time, but you're right. It did pan out. It shows that you just can't have such linear thinking all the time. But I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the two fleet holds and then the slower move into the, into the.
Yeah, I think he should have been in Spain at least.
Yeah, he would be taking Tunis now if he had moved a little more decisively.
Correct. I mean, but that's 2 turns ago, right? Like, when he bounced in mid-Atlantic or whatever. I don't remember what he did, but
Albania.
yeah, Albania, pointless. But I mean, I don't really fault him at all for anything that happened this time around. It turned out well for him. I give France a B plus.
Yep, I'll give him a B. Solid moves, good coordination with his ally. Yeah, nothing super outstanding, but it's really good.
I mean, I would have. I mean, he might want to stay in the Mid Atlantic in order to. I mean, I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he is going to or should stab England. I guess the Mid Atlantic keeps that door open or keeps England somewhat kind of has some leverage over England, but I would have rather seen him force his way into the Gulf of Lyon with Spain because it gives you a convoy line with Piedmont.
I thought
even if you're not going to use, I just like to threaten as many tiles as possible, and Mid Atlantic could have probably again come down to North Africa. That does risk Mid Atlantic being taken, which is a big.
That's awful.
Yeah, that might be too big a risk. I just would have rather have the Gulf of Lyon. That's a minor quibble though. Everything else looks good. I think it's. I mean, I don't see why it's not an A minus. It's not perfect, but there's nothing wrong with it. He's moving forward. He has Ruhr. I think he'll take Holland. Yep. I almost just ding him for. I'm not really on the edge of my seat about the reveal about the inside joke of Albania. Let's put it that
way. It's dumb. I guess we have to grade Germany. Germany, I feel kind of bad for you. I'm going to give you an A. A for effort.
Effort.
You got Holland.
You kept Berlin.
Not a fan of keeping Ruhr.
That was the mistake.
I thought he'd be much more relevant with fleets, but at least one fleet, one army. I think he's giving England way too much leverage over him.
No. He picked the winner. He decided he hated France way more than England.
Yep.
Hated Russia more. I mean, like the disband of the Baltic is the most baffling, and it also just opens up the Baltic to England, which is the key attack vector against Russia. Yeah, I don't really know what he was thinking here.
England.
I'm gonna give England a B as well.
It's tough because the builds, I really didn't like the builds. They should have been reversed with the fleet in London. Even if you aren't going to use it, you want to set up a position of maximum flexibility. You can't predict everything. Though there is a kind of confident swagger to doing what is confidence inducing to your ally, and then showing that you have a multi-step plan where it didn't make a difference, in the sense that because he took Baltic, he can, and if he does move 3 against St. Petersburg, then, and your intention was to put the army in Norway with support from Sweden, then it didn't really make a difference. So I'm going to give him an A-, actually. I don't like the builds because I think it was limiting, which is something he just does. It was almost like spring 1901 all over again. Just, he loves York.
For some weird reason.
Yeah, and he likes to limit his options in terms of.
I mean, what if he needed North for Holland or something? As like Liverpool to EDI would have made a lot more options for him.
Yeah, but I do think, I mean, he basically has. I think the move to Baltic really negates a lot of the problems, because if you are going all out against Russia here, then it didn't matter as much. Actually, I'll give him a B+. The build is too limiting. I can't give him an A-. Yeah, it has to be.
You can still move to York from Liverpool.
Yeah, it's a B+. It's a B+.
Pitches.
No, I gave him a B. Yeah.
A+. Man's going to get 2 builds. I like the position. It's a patient game. The North is his.
God, actually, I have to go back to A-. I'm being so indecisive. I'm so sorry, but my eyes just dart around, and I don't like these minor details. And then my eyes fall back on Denmark moving to the Baltic, and
It's a great move.
Pleasure goes down my spine. That was the right move, and it's gonna change this game.
He's got, I mean, the point you made earlier, Audacious, that the only fleet he has to worry about is in mid-Atlantic, and it's 1904. That is dominant position. Think about how many fleets England would need. I mean,
really
France would need. I mean, there's no stab France can now effectuate on England with a 4-to-1 fleet advantage.
I'm going to an A- just because he's getting the builds. I can't drop him a whole grade because of York.
Yeah, it's an A-. It's a blemish.
It's just a small blemish.
Yeah.
I
view
it doesn't matter.
Rack, but it's still good.
Okay.
It probably doesn't matter, but why would? That's why.
Now, actually, France could technically kind of stab him and be a problem, but it's this. France doesn't even have a convoy line into England, so any stab would be kind of counterproductive. And also, I just don't think it's happening. I think that their game philosophy is triumphing to such a degree over the more fractious and transactional and squabbling East that why would you let that go right now? There's absolutely no evidence that this bucket of crabs crawling over themselves in the East is going to present any problem for their war machine here.
Why this is so far the worst finals game in the history of Nexus is the best thing about every finals game I've watched is how everyone wants to win and acts in their ultimate self-interest to try and win. And the way the East is playing this game is so bad for so long that they are allowing an EF to just dominate them. It's a meta of insanity. And when I think back to Paula, when I think back to, Captain Neem, and I think back to last year with Kudasov, these are people who did what they had to do at the right time. Kudasov gets together with Tanjian to take out Doc. That, these guys are just like, I don't understand. They're all poser Toms in the East. Every one of them is a poser Tom. And it's enough tomfoolery. My prediction here is that the East will now try and rally. And that all these moves we see here, do you
You're
just
absolutely wrong.
further going down into the abyss? Further, are we going to go down into the 5th level of Dante's Hell in the fall?
I think it'll be just like with Audacious and Pez. AI will self-destruct, and then you'll just get Juggernaut from the other side. The Entente will take over.
Yeah.
So that's how Powell won that whole match, is just with the Jug. So it's just gonna come from the other way. I don't think it's gonna wrap up. So we have seen a finals just like this, and so we'll just see who comes out on top, France or England.
Yeah. I mean, I really do think the best chance for any kind of resistance at this point is this plan I see the outlines of, just to carve up Austria as fast as possible. But I don't think it's going to work. I think they might try it, but Austria will slow them down just enough, and they won't get to the stalemate line in time. And then we might see a stab between France and England, but in like 1907 at the earliest. There's no reason for them to let these little powers back in the game at this point.
Nope.
All right. I've said what I wanted to say. Anyone else?
This is officially the Ed episode.
I'd like to see France help Austria into Venice. Hey, you don't think it's gonna happen? You watch. Let's see.
That would be funny.
Got to keep Austria afloat. It's the only thing keeping you going.
I
They need to
mean,
do what they can to support them.
well, Italy's going to help convoy Piedmont to Albania. I'm kidding. That would be a little too cute. I might puke.
It'd be awesome if he was in Leon and Tysus or Tyranian and
Well, all right, boys, it was good talking to you. Good analysis here. We will see you after. My God.
tomorrow.
A long time. We'll post this after the fall or winter. So thanks for listening, and thanks to diplomacybriefing.com for sponsoring us. Good night, fellas.